Hey guys, welcome back to Andy's Dinosaur Reviews, and today we have a very cool review to do. This is the Takara Tomy Fukuiraptor, and this is a figure I've been wanting to get a hold of for a very long time just because it was such an obscure species to randomly be created by Takara Tomy. Honestly, I never in a million years would have expected them to create a figure of this species, but boy was I happy that they did because the actual figure looked great from the promotional images that I had seen, so I was really excited about getting my hands on it at some point, and thankfully we now have it here, and that is actually thanks to my good friend John Sakulo, who helped me to acquire this figure. As always, the guy is the coolest and always helping me out with different dinosaur figures that I need to get a hold of, especially when it comes to ordering them from Amazon Japan, which is exactly where this one came from, as I am not able to do that at all. It's just kind of a process to get stuff from Amazon Japan, and he consistently does order from there, so he helped me out with acquiring this really cool figure. As far as the actual box goes, you can see a nice image of the Fukuiraptor here on the front, as well as the name of the species right there. And then on the side, you have a couple of images there. I don't really know what's going on because I can't read it. On the back here, we have a really nice image of the Fukuiraptor yet again, and then another over here on this side. So let's go ahead and get this open and take a look at the figure that is inside. So here is our Takara Tomy Fukuiraptor, if I can get it to stand, because my figure here currently does not want to, which is strange. There we go. I was going to say the Takara Tomy figures almost always stand perfectly for me, but you can definitely see here at first glance, it's a really appealing looking figure. It's definitely very nice looking out of the packaging, which this is my first time actually looking at it out of the packaging, and I'm instantly impressed by it, so I'm pretty excited overall, and I really want to see what this figure looks like up close. So let's go ahead and get a closer look at it right now. So starting up here at the head sculpt of the Fukuiraptor, you can see some really nice, very fine detailing to the head sculpt overall. There's some beautiful scale detail included, and it is a very nicely sculpted head sculpt overall. Really nicely painted eye. You can see a beautiful eye with a yellow coloration and a nice black pupil. Looking at the opposing side of the head, also looks really good over here, and the eye placement is perfect. You can see again that kind of joint where the lower jaw connects. Takara Tomy actually likes to kind of show off their joints of their figures. I don't know why, but it's kind of just part of their charm, I think. And you can see the inside of the mouth sports kind of a purplish coloration, which is a pretty realistic coloration, I think, for the inside of the mouth potentially. And the paint looks really nice and precise in there. The teeth actually look to be painted really nicely overall on the figure, and that is definitely a huge plus because sometimes the insides of the mouths of figures can be horrendous, but this one does look pretty nice overall, and the articulated jaw actually works really smoothly as well. Coming back up here into the head, moving down into the neck, you can see the ears as we move down into the neck, actually right behind the head right there. The skin texture looks pretty good on the figure. As we move down into the body, you can see the shoulder blade there protruding from the skin a little bit. Really nice detail as we move down into the arms and down into the hands. The hands look really nice. You have the nicely painted nails with a black coloration, and they are glossed actually, so they shine pretty realistically. I love the paint scheme they've gone with on this, with like a reddish brown or an orangish brown, and then these very nice and striking white stripes that run along the back that just is so flashy and so beautiful. Moving back here into the body, you can see some very nice detailing here in the stomach region, kind of some skin folding and skin wrinkling going on there. That looks really, really good. The actual skin texture continues to look quite phenomenal all over this figure. And once we get back here into the thigh, you can get a pretty nice sense of the musculature of the thigh. The skin texture in that area as well looks really good. Coming down into the foot sculpt looks great. Beautifully painted nails on the feet as well, and you can actually see the dew claws are painted, so that instantly is a huge plus if you ask me. The actual paint application is really nicely done. Also, you can see that the stripes don't look like paint on a figure, honestly. They look like actual body color, which is a huge plus because sometimes striping like that can look just awful, but that is not the case on this figure. But you can also see that the actual transitioning between colors is really nice and smooth as well. The underside sports like kind of almost like a mixture of a light green and a light brown sort of, but the transition between those colors is really smooth. You can see there's kind of an abundance of it back here, and that's a very smooth transition between those colors. And then, of course, once we get to the tail, you can see those joints, those ball joints that Takara Tomy is kind of known for, which allow you to articulate your tail and pose your tail in whatever way you would like. And, of course, swivel your tail as well if you would like to. But those are kind of like the charm, I think, of the Takara Tomy figures. And that as well looks really nice and works really nice. It's just kind of the way that these figures appear. And if you are new to Takara Tomy, those joints in the tail can definitely be distracting. But if you're like me and you've kind of been collecting their figures for a while, it eventually grows on you and kind of becomes part of their charm. Looking at this side as well, it looks great sculpt-wise as far as like the fine detailing. It's really, really nicely done. Even the underside sports some beautiful sculpt and detail. And the arm looks great over here, pretty much in the same position as we see on the previous side there. Nicely painted nails yet again. Some more really nice detailing here in the stomach region. You can kind of see like the skin would be bunching up with this leg pushing into the body. I like the way that they've done that as well. You can really see the musculature nicely on this leg, I think even better than you had seen on the previous side. Beautiful foot sculpt over here as well. Those nails look great. Nice and precise as far as the way they're painted also, just like we had seen as far as the paint in the mouth being very precise. You can see the dew claw over here on the opposing leg, and then again we move out the length of the tail. So this Fukuiraptor figure, if you ask me, is absolutely gorgeous. As far as articulation goes, you do have the articulated jaw. You also have articulation in the hips on both sides, and then 2 spots in the tail where I had shown you previously with those swivel and ball joints, but unfortunately no arm articulation or anything like that, but I think it's still some pretty good articulation. One thing that is interesting is the figure doesn't balance that well, which you kind of saw initially, but I mean, I can get it to balance, but most Takara Tomy figures that I've had entered into my collection in the past balance really well, and there's barely ever a hassle or a kind of a struggle to get it to stand. But this one, it will stand, it's just it takes a little work to get it to do that. But as far as a size goes, this is actually really quite small when it comes to a Takara Tomy figure. For a length, you are looking at about the 5-inch range, or about 13 centimeters, and then for a height, about 1.75 inches, or about 4.5 centimeters. For a size comparison, there is Mr. Papo T-Rex, the Attack Pack Colovosaurus, and Robert Muldoon next to our Takara Tomy Fukuiraptor. And next to these figures here, you should have a very good idea of the fact that this Fukuiraptor is extremely small in comparison, and just overall is a very small figure. But I think that is one thing that actually makes the figure even more impressive, is the very nice paintwork and beautiful sculpt included in something so small. And if you are like me and have just tons of figures, but you really want to get a really nice Fukuiraptor in your collection, this Takara Tomy version is not at all a bad way to go. So this Takara Tomy Fukuiraptor is really, really nice. It is honestly a beautiful looking figure. I think everything about it is honestly extremely appealing. Sculpt, paint, everything looks great. The sculpt is pretty much your standard Takara Tomy sculpt. They always give you a really nicely sculpted figure that does usually include lots of really nice fine details, and that is exactly what I find on this Fukuiraptor. It is very nice, very highly detailed, and again, for the smaller size, I think that makes the actual sculpting even more impressive, just how much sculpt and detail they've managed to cram into something so small, and to do it in such beautiful fashion. The pose of the dinosaur is nothing incredible. It's just kind of walking along, but it's something that's nice and natural, so I can always approve of that as well. The paint, I think, is one of the most striking aspects of the figure. I love this paint scheme they've gone with like a reddish or an orangish brown, and those white stripes that run down the back. It's just very flashy, but something that could have potentially been the coloration of the animal. I think that was a great choice on the part of Takara Tomy to really give it that flashy paint scheme that I think makes it kind of jump out and stand out more so than some other figures might. And the actual application of the paint is a huge plus as well, because everything on it as far as the application goes looks really nice and smooth and very realistically done, which sometimes this kind of design of like a brighter coloration like that striping down the back of a dinosaur can show up in kind of sloppy fashion and just not look very realistic, but Takara Tomy has actually applied it perfectly here within this figure. And if you take all of that and combine it with the fact that it has some really cool articulation, then you have yourself a win as far as this very cool Takara Tomy Fukuiraptor goes. So if you would like to pick one of these up, I will include a link to eBay, which is pretty much the most common place to find these nowadays, or I'll check Amazon as well. But regardless, I will include a link in the description to where you can purchase this on one of those websites. So make sure you check the description, go buy yourself this very cool Takara Tomy Fukuiraptor, and make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next review. Thanks for watching.